This is ESPN Esports. I'm Arda Ocal. Happy to be joined by Lawler, who just returned from Madrid. Of course, the World Championships wrapping up in Rocket League, and we look forward to Season 9. But let's unpack Season 8. Lawler, it seems like nothing really fun happened. No real drama at the end. Just another mundane season in Rocket League. It's funny, right? Like you were talking about NRG being you mentioned this on ESPN actually a few months ago. You said, they're the best team I've ever seen on paper. And now this really seems like the culmination of what a roller coaster ride for NRG.
Hey, it makes me sound really smart, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. This team was something that we had a lot of faith in. And actually got a lot of credit for it. Usually we're not supposed to be biased towards any certain teams and stuff, but it's just we've been waiting for this team to win for so long. They were originally known as a team of Kings of Urban, and Garrett wasn't with the roster yet. It was a completely different roster actually at this point when they kind of came into culmination, but they've always been the ones to lead the charge in North America. And they added Garrett in addition towards the second season, and then they just started to make waves, and we're like, okay, this team's really good. But even prior to that, Garrett G was a player that played for 4 different teams under kind of like the same name of who was on their team, but we all knew he was special. We all knew something about him that really had this world championship run. And when they got into season 4, they just had a really tough finish and lost to the OCE team. And he put out a tweet that a lot of us have kind of been just waiting for, which is, I'm not going to stop until I lift that trophy. And we always reference it, and you could see it in his reaction if you go and watch. And shoutouts to the production team. They capture the perfect moment of him just being in pure disbelief that it finally happened. He's been waiting for so long for it to happen. And now that they have this monkey off their back, sky's the limit.
It was such a moment, right? I mean, you saw Justin's face after he scored in Game 7. By the way, Game 7 overtime. Of course. Is that not the best possible way to determine a championship, right? The dramatic.
Game 7. It just goes to show, like, I love the amount of attention Rocket League always gets during the World Championship. I mean, it's a very busy weekend for us. I didn't even know of viewership or how all those things played out until this, like yesterday as I was traveling home. And it's like they're talking like 280,000 concurrent and just breaking records for us, which is always really satisfying knowing that it's in the European region, which usually does a little bit worse when it comes to viewership because most of it's in North America and the time zones and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, we're putting in like 14-hour days from start to finish, and it's good to see that it's paying off. And then you also have pro players from all different types of esports, obviously. Slash here and everybody else is giving it love, saying like, hey, Rocket League should be tier 1. And those kind of nods are really, really awesome to hear. Because it's something we've always known, like even before I was a caster, we all knew the potential this game had to be. It's the perfect culmination of what you want in an esport. It was just only a matter of time. So the fact that it's getting that nod from the mainstream guys is really humbling. I'm happy for the game and where it's headed and how it's trending. And it just goes to show we're doing the right stuff.
I do want to talk about the future a little bit later. Let's unpack this past weekend. Even as a caster, actually, I imagine that, and I'm not taking, I know what it's like to prepare for an event. You prepare very well. But I mean, this is sort of like a dream scenario for a caster, is it not? Even going into this weekend, it was such a storyline rich World Championship.
Yeah, so when we were watching, we knew there was 3 major things that we were focusing on. And a lot of it had to do with the old Dignitas roster. They were the dynasty that came in originally as Gale Force back in DreamHack of 2017 in Sweden. And it was Violent Panda, Turbo Pulsa, and KDOP. And we're like, this team's really good. They took second at that event and took second at every other off-season event, but they kept crushing at every major RLCS event. Took first 3 series in a row with Turbo, and that's how he became the 3-time. But Turbo Pulsa and KDOP both had also won with him in 2 more times sequential in Season 5 and Season 6. So we had 2 players that were the 2-time, and then Turbo, who was the 3-time. Well, KDOP caught up. So going into this LAN, you have Turbo, who's won 3 World Championships. You've had KDOP, who's won 3 World Championships, and Violent Panda, who's won 2. So it's like, is Violent Panda going to tie them up? Is it going to be Dignitas, or is it going to be, So we had 3 separate storylines all reaching for this big thing, and it's like, it goes to show how strong that roster is, that these 3 players are all on 3 different teams, all competing for the same World Championship. And they're all still alive on the final day. So there was a lot of storylines. It really didn't matter who was in that grand final because we knew there was just so much history that we could talk about. But it's storybook ending. Vitality and NRG, they always joke about, like Fairy Peak tweeted out, this is the 250 whatever time we're going to play them again because they always run into each other. So we got the rematch we wanted. As biased as we're not supposed to be, we got the rematch we wanted. NRG and Vitality it produces some really good gameplay.
What did we? I mean, we saw the raw emotion from Garrett and Justin and Turbo afterwards, but like, what did we not see on camera? What was the vibe like? Like, did you have any conversations with them after the fact?
Yeah, so I got lucky enough that I was actually traveling home with Garrett and Turbo, so I got to sit and talk with them kind of after the day after it kind of sunk in. It hasn't yet. But yeah, like even for the guys at the desk, like I hope they release our footage of it because we broke down. I mean, you've been waiting for 4 years for those guys to finally get that, and like I've seen Garrett grow up as a kid. Like he's like my little brother. Baby-faced 15 coming in, just shock and awe to the whole situation, and all of a sudden now he's 19, 18. He's an adult technically. He's living on his own with Turbo. Like it's just you're seeing him become an adult and how he handles things so well. And Justin, who's as shy as can be and is now living it. He's dancing on stage. He's crying in front of a crowd. Like those types of emotions are very hard to explain unless you're in the moment. And even for us at the desk, all the guys, tears in our eyes, just so happy for what they finally accomplished. And that's not to discredit, Vitality at all. We love all those guys too. It's just at a certain point, you could tell that even the people that were cheering for Vitality were still so happy for Garrett and the crew just because of what they've been working for. And then Turbo, who's already done it 3 times, is just like, yeah, another title, whatever. It's just another day at the office for him because he's done it so many times. So talking to them on the way home, Garrett's just like, I don't ever want to not have that feeling again. So knowing how motivated he was and now how he's even more motivated, it's just the feeling is so short-lived because you go from this really high intense practice and pressure and then being on the stage and then you win, it's a quick interview and then it's all over. It's just the turnover is so quick. So I told him to go back home, rewatch the finals, sit back with Turbo and just enjoy it and see it from our perspective and the viewer's perspective and rival in it. Really enjoy it, really take it in, and then a month and a half later we get to do it all over again.
So let's preview the next season a little bit. I mean, they only have about a month or so. I mean, It starts in February. There's a couple months. They're going to take some time, obviously, over the holidays, start prepping again in January. But what do you think their confidence and their motivation is going to be like? It's no longer chasing that one championship, that elusive championship now. Completely changes. What do you think their mindset's going to be like?
Their mentality is now back-to-back. They've proven they can do it. They've proven their team is unworldly talented, so good at this game. I honestly think they're now set for back-to-back runs. I think they're trying to create a new dynasty, something that we've been wanting since Dignitas, and I think this team is definitely poised to do it. So focus now is, don't let off the gas. We've proven that we can do it. We've got a target on our back, complacency. You see what happens with Cloud9 and G2, that if you are not constantly prepping, this game is so vital on being a workhorse. You have to always give it your all because in this game, any bad touch, any wrong positioning, any whatever it is, can lead to a goal for the other team. So you have to continue to find a way to play perfect and be consistent. And that's honestly the hardest thing to do in Rocket League because of how physics-based oriented it is. So for them, it's staying on the grind and seeing if they can do a repeat because we've only seen it happen with one other team.
Do they remain the favorites going into Season 9?
Oh, yeah. There's without a doubt. Mm-hmm. They're so good.
Is one thing that I found interesting too was Justin and the clutch gene, right? Like he seemed to score when he needed to score. What is it about his play that just lends itself to that?
I don't know, man. Like Justin is, as I've said, a once in a generation talent. He is special. I honestly think it has to do with his age. A lot of these young guns, we had 17 new players going to LAN. And usually there's jitters and nerves and the first time that you see it. And in Justin's first LAN, he has the Justin goal for Season 5 where we get the Game 7 overtime and the bracket reset and all that kind of stuff. So I honestly think that these young kids just haven't fully grasped what it truly means to the gravity that it does. And I think that helps. He's also been conditioned his entire life, essentially, in gaming. since he's born, he's had a tablet or some sort of console or what have you. There's photos of him flying out there when he's 2, surrounded by like a bunch of PlayStations from what his dad used to do for work. So he's always had it as a part of his system. So I think just constantly growing up around it has helped him kind of just settle into that. But even still, the clutch thing surprises me because he is a very emotional player. He gets in his own head, but he's slowly starting to learn the right type of music he needs to listen to or what his daily routine is going to be to make sure he performs at his best. But I don't think there is something that you can really point to that it is for players or athletes that allow them to get into that flow or that state of mind that allows them to perform in the most clutch point. You look at the Michael Jordans and the LeBrons and all that kind of stuff. Those guys that just perform when everything is on the line. Justin is one of those guys. There's something special about him that can't be taught. It's just it's something that they have ingrained in them, or that it's part of their DNA that just allows them to do it. And of course, like you said, it's a Game 7 overtime goal, and he's the one doing it. So yeah, I honestly can't say what it is, but he definitely has that little bit of extra sauce, as he would call it.
Let's end on this, Lawler. 2020 is poised to be a very interesting year for Rocket League, right? You got the Olympics, the Intel event leading up to the Olympics, viewership numbers, even going into 2020, like you said, all the attention that comes with world championships, people noticing in other esports, people covering esports, etc. But in your opinion, if you were to predict what 2020 will look like, where will we get? Will Rocket League get its due, get its respect as a tier 1 esport? How far away from that are we? What do you think 2020 will be like?
2020 will be the year that Rocket League gets what it loves and deserves. I don't think it is possible to ignore this game anymore. It is shown consistently for how many seasons that it is as touted the world's most exciting esport. There's something special about it to where anybody can sit and watch it. It's sponsor friendly. It's for all ages. It's super easy to understand. Anybody can watch it and everybody can grasp the concept very easily. And now it's being put in front of the culture that enjoys esports the most. The Olympics is a big deal. I don't think anybody can ignore the fact that Rocket League and Street Fighter are going to be there. And we're doing a lot of things, I think, that are trending in the right direction. The IEM event is going to be the first time that we have truly 16 teams. It is going to be the first 4-day event that we ever have, which will allow the event to get the gravity that I think it deserves. It'll allow it to breathe a little. You're talking regional attention from all the countries that are competing, which will eventually dwindle down to 7 because Tokyo automatically sends in their Japan team as an auto bid. So it is going to be a ton of work. It is going to be a lot of preparation. But Rocket League is being put in front of a very large audience because of that, and I'm super proud that the team gets a chance to represent not only Psyonix but also the world in that sense, because the Olympics is a very big deal, and a lot of players I don't think realize that yet, how big of a deal that it is for Katowice as well as the Olympics. So I think 2020 is proving that Rocket League is something you cannot ignore and that it is a true tier 1 esport.
Well, lots to look forward to as a Rocket League fan enthusiast into 2020. You are one of the prominent voices of the community and on the broadcast, and we're always happy to have you here on ESPN Esports.